Hi, my name is Gil Robertson, president of the African American Film Critics Association. Today, we're thrilled to be talking to the creative team responsible for the hit show BMF on Starz. We're going to kick things off by introducing you to the African members on the call today, starting with Penny Mallory Harper in New York, New York, Dana Abercrombie in New York, New York, Tamara J. in New Jersey, Michael Soul in Washington, D.C., Nancy Green in Los Angeles, Derryck Dunn in Washington, D.C., Karan Noah Kelly in Charlottesville, Virginia, Jill Monroe in Los Angeles, and of course, Nick Hamilton, also in LA. I'm going to let you guys do what you do so well, and I will see you on the other side.
So, hello everyone. Hi, my name is Penny Malloy Harper. I'm with Pembroke TV, and this question is for Big Tank, Mr. Thornton.
Hey,
So,
hey,
hi.
how
I
you
didn't realize
doing?
that was you, like Gil said with your sunglasses.
Hey,
Um,
you
so,
know,
there are many components to creating a series. However, the music to me is super important because based on the tone of the music, that makes the difference between it being a comedy or a thriller. So I was just wondering, when you're creating a scene, what chords do you use to elicit the emotion that you're trying to get from the audience? Are there specific chords like for happiness or
oh yeah,
excitement?
for sure.
Mhm.
When we're trying to convey happiness, we want to be in major, and whenever you want like sad or sorrow or angst, you're looking for more minor chords. So, BMF is a drama, so although we do have a lot of happy moments, it is primarily drama. So we're in a lot of minor chords and bringing a lot of tension throughout the season. So yeah, we're using a lot of minor chords in this one.
Thank you so much, and congratulations on Series 4. Thank you.
Yes, I'm just extremely happy to be here, and I can't wait for you guys to see it because it is, in my opinion, the best season.
How's it going? Derryck Dunn, reviews and done. I had a question
Uh,
for Heather. Was Eric always the first choice for the character of Lamar?
You know, Randy Huggins, who created BMF, he was the one that picked Kofi. So I came in season 2. So I wasn't involved in those original casting decisions, but I can tell you that I was very involved in wanting to bring that character back and give that nostalgic feeling. I can't even tell you the emotion. I wrote episode 401 graduation day, and having those guys back on set together, having Kofi, Meech, Da Vinci, and Miles together, uh, there was definitely some tears that day.
Hi, Jill Monroe, KBLA Talk 1580. So my question is for Heather, Tank, and Keia. So with this series, musical moments have hallmarked it. We were just mentioning Eric, the moment with the Loose Ends track. We've all talked about turning off the water, the way that all of that is interweaved together as far as the wardrobe, the music, and just the right moments and what is happening on screen. How closely do the three of you work together and discuss those bits and moments that come together on screen?
Gosh, we're in constant communication. So in the writers' room, and it's nice to see you, Jill, too. In the writers' room, we put our time frame together, and then we have production meetings, and we do wardrobe meetings, we do music meetings, and then I'll pass it off to Keia and then Tank.
and I can tell you, as far as on my side, me and Heather are always talking, and trying to make sure that the right scene and the right song go hand in hand to elevate. We want the music to elevate the scene even more. So we will go through 50 records to make sure we find that exact right song for that exact scene. So it's been a pleasure working with Heather. And like I said, we are a very symbiotic unit. We're like joined at the hip when it comes to the music on the show.
And for me, once they like put it all together and look at the costumes, it just like brings the whole thing home for me.
Yeah, Randy hired Tank and Keia, and he always said that Keia was one of his secret weapons. So now she's become one of mine too.
Hi, I'm Nancy Green with Film Critique. And One of my questions is, with all the history that's involved with the show, I wanted to know, how do you coordinate to keep everything together? You kind of touched upon that already. And I was wondering if you could go a bit more in depth in that. And if you've ever made any mistakes, like having like maybe a song that, or that didn't fit the scene, or maybe costumes that were outside of the time period or anything like that. And how did you guys like cover it?
I can,
Oh, go ahead, Tank.
I was just gonna say we never make mistakes in music. No, honestly though, I mean, me and Heather will watch a scene so many times before we even get to the mix stage that by the time we get there, everything's been solved and we know exactly where we are. So by the time we get to the last hurdle, we've gone back and forth so many times. We're pretty clear on, and we feel great about where we're going. Would you agree, Heather?
Yeah, absolutely. And so Tank and I have a great relationship, and Keia is amazing too. She does so much research. You want to talk about just your process with Meech too, and
Yeah, sure.
comes in for
So it's important to us to get the research down so that we don't make those mistakes. Sometimes because we're working with different areas like Detroit, New York, St. Louis, people wear different things at different times. So, you know, sometimes the audience that sees it in New York might be like, oh, they were doing that in Detroit before we were, if they don't know the history. So, you know, we do a deep dive into the research, and then I get the opportunity to talk to Meech, Big Meech, every once in a while through Little Meech, or Little Meech will download some things from Big Meech to me, and you know, then I get to talk to Terry every once in a while as well. So we do our best to try to make it as authentic as possible.
Hello, this is Karan Lenoir Kelly from Karanism.com and Love Music Pleasure. And I just want to say, I know it's a heavy lift to create a world where characters exist, where they really have lives. But when you have a hit show that demands now 4 seasons of expansion of those lives, what does that require of you? Because as it says in the beginning, this shit might have happened.
Yeah, so we always take creative license. We dramatize as storytellers, right? So we always create a goal for the hero. You know, expansion was the goal of BMF. And then it's our job to put as many obstacles in our hero's way as possible and make it as entertaining and give you guys as much shizzle as possible. And so we also have a writer's room consultant, Latoya Mapp, who ran with BMF. She's known Big Meech since he was 15. So she's a tremendous resource. But we always want to tell the most entertaining story. You know, a lot of this stuff, you can't make it up. The story, in a way, writes itself. And it is a little bit like the Titanic. You know, the fans know how it's going to end. So we always just want to take the audience on the most wild ride possible and make some stuff up too.
Dana Abercrombie, the Koalition. My question is kind of for Heather. What I was wondering is, we have characters that are new, and then we have characters that are returning. Can you talk about the process of those returning characters that we thought, you know, we closed the door on, but also making room for those new ones?
Yeah, so we have a theme in the writer's room every year. Our theme in the room was the enemy within, which we thought was really kind of phenomenal, thematic. Not only the physical threats of the enemy within, right? But also emotionally, right? The internal enemy within. And you're seeing our characters in some pretty self-destructive behavior also, and making moves to service things that maybe T wants, maybe that Meech wants, without sharing with their brothers. So we wanted to have that nostalgia. And like I had said earlier, there's always new obstacles that get in the way for the hero's journey. So it's fun to pepper in new faces, you know, to create more obstacles. And we had so much fun because we got to live in so many different mini worlds this year with different enemies.
Hi, I'm Michael Sowell from Washington, D.C., from Sowell Media. First, again, congratulations with this show. This show really has impacted the culture in terms of understanding the story that really not being told, but also is a story that we want as a community we want to fully understand in all of its full authenticity. I just want to talk as a perspective of the perspective of a showrunner. The fact that you're going for 4 seasons successfully, also it's not only is a testament to the fact that we want this story, but also how well you are running it as well. And so I want to talk about how, as a showrunner, that your perspective of keeping the impact of the audience every time you're making a decision to go forward in another season.
Yeah, thank you so much. We are really blessed to have such invested fans, such an invested audience. I always, when we got our 4th season, I said to our writers' room, this is amazing to be able to open a BMF season 4 folder on our laptops. I've been in the business 25 years. You know, I was on like the OG Power. I got to do 3 seasons of that. Anytime you're on a show that has juice, it's amazing. It's like capturing lightning in a bottle. And you know, our guy Randy Huggins, who is from Detroit, who created this show. I've known Randy for 10 years. It's so moving to see his vision from the beginning. I'm not sure if you know, he had a massive stroke at the end of season 2. So the fact that we get to push his vision, carry it forward, this isn't just a job. This has been so meaningful for all of us.
Yeah.
And we are such a work family. And one of the greatest compliments I feel we have on set is when new cast shows up and they, man, there is something different here, you know? So our mission is very purpose driven, and Randy had no idea, you know, this is the little engine that could. This little show keeps on going, and I just can't wait to see the our audience response, you know? So thank you. We don't take it lightly that we've had 4 seasons.
No, thank you. And I will say the music and the costumes been fire in this season. Keep it coming.
Thank you.
No doubt. Thank you.
Samara J for Noir Online. My question is open to the entire panel. I wanted to know, with having an audience of different generations, from people that do know the story and don't know the story, what was the most challenging aspect of this 4th season to capture the ending for people that don't know and do know what happened?
You know, I think with characters like Russell, you know, Pops and Mom, that story of being married a long time, going through divorce, captures the heart of one generation. And I think too, just with BMF is still so much in the dialogue, you know, and we have so many talented young actors too. People have become stars on this show. So I think we just have a broad reach, and we are a multiple genres. We're family. We have action. We have the procedural element with Bryant, right? We have just beautiful cinematic storytelling, and then of course with the music. Go ahead, Tank.
I think basically what we're trying to do is we're evolving the story as we go. So, you know, we started off late 80s. So you hear like some boom bap and some cowbells. And then we got into like the synthesizers of the 90s, the early 90s. And like where we're going is just towards the future to, you know, to tell the completion of the whole story. So as Heather and those guys take the scripts forward, we're taking the music forward. And if you are younger, you get to hear, you know, what we were listening to back then, and you're kind of starting to hear us evolve into what's going to be, you know, coming in the 2000s and beyond. So, you know, we're just trying to really just arc the story along with what Heather and those guys are doing. So that's what we're doing on the music side.
And for me, on the costume side, what was most important for me and most challenging was, since most of the photos that I have are like more current and very clear to the audience that these things actually happen and they're actually circulating out there on the web. And so like wanting to get like Nicole's graduation look perfectly, and you know what Lucille wears exactly to the T as much as I could, so that those references would match were like the most important things to me. And then those characters that are new, that are coming on, that maybe seeing themselves on screen because they're still around, it was like also important to like nail those looks.
Hello, everybody. Nick Hamilton, Nightcast Media. Congratulations on season 4. I want to ask all of you, obviously, as we continue to progress with the BMF story, you know, authenticity is very important. And there's a moment at a particular awards where it kind of changed hip hop in this particular story. Um, what part of the 90s do you guys remember the most? And what would be a moment where you feel like this is the moment that we really captured about their story in that particular golden age period?
So I am class of 95. So the 90s, yes, my 30-year reunion's coming up.
Yes.
So the 90s were a really fun and special time. And I can just tell you, in the writer's room, every year, you know, one year it was Freaknik, right? Then season 3, it was like, okay, now what? Okay, it was Jack the Rapper, you know? And then this year in the room, it was like, okay, we've got to do the Source Awards. And it was just a perfect blend as far as us pushing Meech and T's music story forward too. So I think it's a great way to get everybody excited for what everyone knows is coming eventually, which is BMF Entertainment, you know? So, and then I'll pass it to Keia.
Yeah, for me, the 90s, although I'm not giving up any years, like Heather, but I'm familiar. But Biggie was the biggest part of my 90s. And so it was exciting to, you know, be able to create that character, recreate those characters that we saw in the 90s. The Source Awards for me, I was really excited because I got to do so many characters, you know, that was very nostalgic for me. Yeah, so that's what I got.
And for me, like as a producer, first, Biggie's the guy. So I want to just put that out there first. That's my favorite guy of all time as well. But I remember when the South was coming, right? I remember going down to Atlanta when Atlanta was first starting to pop off, and you know, all the labels were going down there, and you know, they were starting to develop their own sound. So the Source Awards to me was like the jump off when Andre came out and said what he said, and you know, Outkast was just really, really, really on fire. You know, it was the jump off and the turn from like boom bap and straight hip hop. And, you know, the West Coast had its thing with the gangster rap, but Atlanta and the South hadn't really been represented like it should have been or could have been. And in the 90s is when that really started to take hold. So to be able to cover that and that turn to now, we're still in the, you know, we still are in the South right now today with so much of our music and trap and things along those lines. So, you know, the 90s was like the jump off, and, you know, Atlanta's been a home for a lot of amazing music ever since. And, you know, Meech and those guys were a big part of that.
No, thank you. Very well done. I love the death row element too.
And, you know.
All right, just a quick question for Tank. Last season when Neo was on the show, were there ever plans for you to work with him to do a song for that season?
You know what? That's a funny question. I'm the one who named him Neo, Schaefer Smith. I've known that guy for a ton of years. But we didn't have any plans to do any music for the show, but I probably got 100 records with that dude, man.
Okay, so I have to know because I'm a 70s baby, but my coming of age was in the 90s, the 80s and the 90s. I want to know what accessory, detail, or artifact did you already have or that you kept from the series? Bamboo earrings, at least 2 pair?
Well, at least 2 pair. I mean, you know, they always had to be wearing the bamboo earrings. So maybe I'd go with that because I think that bamboo earrings spanned over a great deal of time. So they went from the 80s to the 90s, you know, layering your necklaces and having, you know, Nefertiti and having, you know, ankhs and, you know, different things that like related to our culture was important.
I couldn't afford a Fendi bag, but I kept my bad attitude. How's that?
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much.
I'll jump in. It's Jill again. So we talked a little bit about the music industry, and we know we're on our journey to BMF Entertainment. How do you pick the spots and the moments to sort of determine at which points you want to highlight along the way of this journey? Because as we've seen, they've crossed paths with lots of legends, lots of iconic moments, but how do you pick what's going to help you push the story forward?
Well, I think definitely the time period, you know, because we couldn't quite get to BMF Entertainment this season, right? So we did the stepping stone. Stomping Ground Records was actually the name of their first label. That is one of the true stories. So we thought that was such a great tease, you know, and as you've seen, there's lessons learned in Stomping Ground, you know, that will pave the way for the next chapter of, you know, for the BMF Entertainment piece. So yeah, the time frame definitely dictates, because all the real people are still alive. So that family for sure is the most important aspect of this. Like I said, I had worked on Power, and when Randy sent me the scripts when I came on board season 2, it felt so different because of the family piece. That is the heart and soul. And even those principles in the Flannery home, the principles of family, Pop's love of music, that's real. Music was a big thing in the real Flannery family. And so the fact that Meech and T took those family principles, the love of music, and infuse that into what they were doing, that's always, I think, the heart and soul of the relationship. You will always see a family dinner, at least one family dinner every season, because it's so important. And families are dysfunctional, right? Every family's dysfunctional, but and I think people really relate to those universal themes of family and relationship, you know. But everything's heightened because Nicole's brothers happen to be drug kingpins. So what happens when your drug kingpin brother crashes your party that you were throwing? It has a little bit of a different outcome, you know?
My question is for Tank and Kia. In terms of all the seasons that you have worked on, what is your favorite musical moment and what is your favorite outfit of the show?
Ooh wee. I mean, that's a tough one. You know, it's hard to beat You Can't Stop the Rain because, you know, it was so deranged. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like we've juxtaposed several things. You know, we've used the Jacksons. I mean, we've done some things that no one's really done before, but it's something about Lamar singing while killing that is that is always gonna, you know, kind of be something in my whole career that I look back on and go, that's dope. So yeah, I would have to say that.
My favorite outfit was at the Fox Theater with Meech in the fur coat, camel color. Fighting in the fur coat was my favorite scene. And it was also Meech's favorite color, Big Meech's favorite color. So when we went to Detroit, I actually met the stylist that Big Meech would use in Detroit at the store that he shopped at. So as I was picking the outfit, you know, he was like, "You're picking all the right things." He's like, "That's his favorite color." And he totally would have wore this outfit. So those are things I didn't know, but it was exciting to like see it all come together and then it be such an important piece.
Well, Heather, Kia, and of course, Big Tank, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time today. On behalf of the world's largest group of Black film and TV critics, we hope you enjoyed this edition of AAFCA Roundtables. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank
It was
you.
an honor to
Thank you.
participate. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.